Hello everybody, welcome back to another one of my videos on my channel. Today is episode 1. So yesterday was episode 0, so today is episode 1 of aim training. So yesterday's episode, basically what we did is we just walked you through the basic starting stuff. So just kind of find out if you want to find out what episode 0 was about, of course go watch it, but I'll just give you a quick rundown of what I said in that. So basically what I said in episode 0 was that what I wanted you to do is just hop in an aim training map, and also yesterday I didn't realize that the map code for this map is on the literal top of my screen, so if you want to play the same map I used to train and then I'm going to be making these videos on, the map code is at the top of the screen, or just search aim edit and then it should be the first one. Anyways, the basically what I said in the last episode 0, I'll give you just a basic quick rundown, is that what I wanted you to do was hop in any aim map. You know, if you have one of your favorites, like if you have a favorite one already, go ahead. It's totally fine by me. It's great. Just hop in any aim training map that has flying bots, different types of bots where you can practice on. Just see where you are right now. Just go ahead and find what sense works for you, whether you're on mouse and keyboard, controller, mobile, you name it. Just find out where you are. Get a basis. You know, like see where you are right now. And then if your sensitivity needs some work, you know, let's figure that out. Change it how you want. Find sensitivity that's perfect for you, and you know, you can always tweak it, change it later down the line. You know, you're not locked in. That's the nice thing, is that you're just not forced to keep the same one your entire life. Just if it feels like you need changing, then you go ahead and change it. You know. Anyway, so what we're going to be doing in today's episode, after you get that all down, and you can still practice what I said in episode 0. Since you have your settings somewhat figured out, today we're going to be talking about recoil control, bloom resetting, and towards last we're going to be talking about stuff about snipers / projectile weapons in general, if you need some help with that. So first of all, bloom resetting. What I mean is that the time it takes after one shot, after you shoot your gun, for the bloom to fully reset and you to get first shot accuracy again. So it's going to be different for every gun and every rarity of that same gun. So say you had a different scar instead of this one, it would take maybe a little longer to, or say you have, you have the burst, it's going to take a different amount of time to reset. Or you had the hammer, that will be faster. Or, you know, it's going to be different for every gun. So what you're going to do, if you're in this map anyway, or whatever map you're in, you just want to come over, find a spot where there's like moving bots on the ground like this. If your map doesn't have it, you can always use this one. And you just want to, you know, practice single tapping your guns, whether you're on controller, mouse, keyboard, whatever. Practice getting first shot accuracy. Figure out the time it takes for your gun's bloom to fully reset to first shot accuracy, and just make sure you figure that out, get it all down pat, so you can time your shots and know when to pull your trigger or click again. So for this, it's about I don't know, I'd say it's decently fast. So see what I mean? Like the small time it takes for your bloom to fully reset to first shot accuracy again. You want it to fully reset. So it can be faster for some things, it can be slower. You just want to figure that out, get it down pat, and kind of like general consensus is it's not going to be too much of a huge difference. So it's kind of going to be somewhat the same for every gun. So you kind of just want to get that down pat early on, because that's going to really help you for if you're like shooting targets that are far away. That's why you want to get first shot accuracy. You can kind of mix it in with like another shot, so like double tap, you know. But it doesn't always have to be first shot accuracy. I'd say you should learn how to do that for farther away targets if you don't have like a sniper and stuff. And this is also really good to learn for using the Mammoth, which I will actually show right now. Is one of the bigger reasons you need to learn bloom resetting in the first place, is because if you're using the Mammoth, I know it just got vaulted from reload, but the Mammoth can take a, well, this is the mythic one, so it's actually pretty fast, but the Mammoth sometimes can take a decent amount of time to bloom reset. See, even though this is the mythic one, it still takes a little bit. But the Mammoth is insane when you're using first shot accuracy. You know, a lot of the time you're not going to be always standing, so you're going to be moving around, you know, so you're not going to have first shot accuracy. So when you're moving and you ADS, you're gonna want to really know when to shoot, because your crosshair can sometimes be a little bit delayed, so your first shot accuracy may come right before. See what I mean? Like, it can be, you know, it's not always the same. The crosshair can mislead you just a little bit, so your first shot accuracy may come as it finished shrinking, or just a little bit before. It's kind of weird to explain, you know, but general consensus is first shot accuracy, you're going to want to use that for far away targets. You're going to want to learn your reset times, you're going to want to learn when to use it. It's always good to use first shot accuracy, but if your target is far away and you don't have like a sniper or a Mammoth, you're going to want to use your assault rifle with first shot accuracy. So that's a big key thing to learn. Now this episode is going to be a little bit longer because we're going to be covering more than just one single thing, but I'm just going to end off the bloom resetting part with just this here, is that what I really want you guys to take away from the bloom resetting is that you don't always have to do this. It's not a thing you always have to do to have insanely good aim. Yeah, you see people doing it, but it's for, like, I recommend doing it for guns like the assault rifle, the SCAR, you know, guns like that don't have like a scope or anything, and they're kind of just can tend to get you really bad bloom. I would recommend single tapping, or some people call it bloom resetting, but single tapping, and you don't have to do it that slow. If they're up closer, you can single tap and you will get much better bloom, and you'll hit a lot more of your shots. But if they're farther away, you're going to want to single tap. Okay, so now moving on to the next part, which would be, let's see, recoil control. Now this can be a really big factor for lots of people. They can know how to do everything else except for recoil control, and that used to be a big issue for me, especially since I started in Chapter 5, and I started like getting better in Chapter 5 Season 2 when they had the Warforged AR. It was one of the hardest guns to control for me back then. So as you can see, no recoil, you start shooting, your gun kind of goes up. Well, the SCAR doesn't have very much, but here, I'll pick the combat assault rifle and not pull down for you, so you can see what I mean. Some guns have really, really bad recoil. Just take a look here. This is not me pulling down at all. See how much it went up? I was aiming right here, and it goes all the way up to about there. It goes all the way up to about, I can't mark. Actually, I can. Why is it not letting me mark out there? Okay, there we go. So you can see I start at the base of the tree, and it goes all the way up to that marker there. So that's some very decent recoil. Especially if you're like a longer range, that's going to be very difficult. Of course, you won't be using a combat assault rifle because it got bolted from reload. But you're going to want to learn how to recoil control. So first of all, the first step is when you're shooting, if you don't know how to, if you're like not good at pulling down, if you're like on controller, mouse, and keyboard, like I said, if you're not like, don't know how to recoil control, you're going to want to, when you're shooting, you're going to want to pull down. Not too hard, but just pull down. And what works for me is if you have a gun like the combat assault rifle, and it has lots of recoil, I run out of mousing pull down space, like on my mouse pad. So what I do is that when my mouse gets close to the bottom, I stop shooting, I crouch, and then I kind of like do it again, you know. Crouching is also good for avoiding shots. But, like, just me letting off the trigger when my mouse is close to the bottom of my mouse pad, and then redoing it again, can save me mousing room, and it can help me control my recoil a lot better. Of course, recoil is going to be different for every single gun. It's just it can be confusing. This tutorial probably sounds confusing to you, and I'm sorry, I'm not really good at explaining things. But if you do, controller people have an advantage here, is they don't really run out of space to do this. They can just infinitely pull down. See, us mouse and keyboard players, we kind of have a disadvantage for recoil control here. We have advantages and disadvantages. But the main consensus for recoil control is you're gonna wanna practice with every single weapon assault rifle that you can. Especially practice with your favorite ones. Find which one you really like and just practice with it a lot. Practice with some that you're not good at to figure out, what their recoil patterns are. And some you're gonna have to pull down more, some you're gonna have to pull down less. You don't wanna just do it with one specific gun and then hop into a match and find out that another gun you shoot and it has lots of recoil. You try pulling down the same way you pulled down with the other one, and you just pull down too much and start whiffing all your shots. Well, you don't pull down enough and it's still way too much recoil. So practice with different guns, people. This is one thing that I wish I could have learned sooner, is practice with different guns all the time. Because then you're going to have a much wider understanding. You wanna have a 5 out of 10 understanding for all guns instead of having a 10 out of 10 understanding for 10 out of 10 understanding for one gun and just not understanding any of the others. Does that make sense? So recoil control, this part may seem really confusing to you. Maybe it all does. But practice your recoil control with every single assault rifle. It will do you really good in the long run. And instead of spending all your time on just one, spend your time on all of them. Spend less time on just one and spend more time on all of them. Does that make sense? Now, I will end off this episode with sniper tracking. Specifically, projectile weapon predicting, which is one thing that I kind of got better at since I started playing in Chapter 5. Some of y'all started playing before and were more used to hit scan. I started playing projectiles, so, I kind of got used to it. But one thing I've learned, and this is one thing Resub taught me. Resub, he's a very good creator. I'm sure most of you know about him. But he taught me, well, not me specifically, he just made a short and I watched it. But one thing that I learned from him is that when you're sniping, the reason why lots of pros hit their shots is because if you take a look at the scope, you'll notice, in the center, you see that crosshair, kind of like the exact middle of the scope. That is good for a decently long range. But as soon as your targets start getting further away, you're going to start wanting you're going to start wanting to aim up more. So I think it's I don't even know. I'm gonna have to check this. So if I find a target that's, see that right there, that target. So it's 134 meters away. So I'm just going to aim my crosshair, like the middle of the sniper, directly on his head, and I'm gonna shoot. That was a headshot. Now we're gonna go. I don't know if this has enough range for it or not. We're gonna go all the way back here. Use that on my render. I'm gonna go right here. We're gonna leave our crosshair directly on him, and that's a body shot. You see, the bullet drop off makes it so when you're still looking directly at his head, it's not always gonna be a headshot. So what he taught me is the further away you go, hold on, let me rephrase. The further back you are, the more you're going to have to look up to predict the headshot. So that's what these marks below the center of the sniper are for. So say you're, I think it was about 200 meters out, you're going to want to use the mark directly below the center. Now he's close enough to me that is too much prediction. So about right in the middle, just close to right in the middle, like the little right there, that's the headshot. So general consensus, the further away you are, the more up you're going to want to look. So around 200 to 230 meters, you're going to, I think, don't quote me on this, I don't know exactly. So just test it out for yourself. Find maybe test it with your friends or something. Just see, practice your knowing for these marks. So figure out what mark you use for what distance. For me, I'm kind of used to just knowing how long I need to, how much I need to look up. But you can start off in your real matches after you learn what mark is for what. Ping the player you want to snipe, and then if it's far enough away, you're gonna want to look up that much. That seemed really confusing even to me, and I'm sorry, but I hope you guys can understand it. Now, one last thing for snipers before I end off this episode is if they're moving, you see the marks on the side from the center, you're going to want to put in between. See how I'm like tracking him here? That was a miss, but you get the point, I'm assuming. Well, at least I hope you do. You would, if they're moving, you put them in between that there, and you would hit. Now, this is a very kind of confusing episode, and I hope you all follow it. Stay tuned for the rest of the episodes, and please like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I could use the support. Thank you for watching.